How many videos had that Vibe Track Sugar song in it, and only now am I finally playing it in its entirety? What is up, everybody? This is Jay, aka MultimediaJay. There's a lot going on, so we're here to talk about that. I might come back later tonight after the laundry finishes. The jeans are spinning in the dryer right now. Need a little bit more time. I might actually take an intermission to see if everything's ready. But after this catch-up stream is done and we get this recorded, I'm going to take a look at the whole situation with the computers. So here's where we're at with all of this. The last video regarding the e-machine thing is recorded. After this arc is concluded, we're going to move on to other stuff. But for the month of June, there's going to be a drop-off in everything because there's a lot of offline stuff that's going on in this town during the month of June, which is incredibly important. We're talking hard deadlines because of some things involving money that need to be taken care of during the month of June that not only myself, but also every resident in this town needs to take care of. We'll get into that in the recap discussion and whatnot. First, I want to just put together a little something for Lester Chen, who has basically stepped into the role that Fwiz used to have at YouTube Gaming. He is going around on Twitter saying all kinds of nice things about YouTube streaming. YouTube is working on YouTube streaming, blah, 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 YouTube streaming. Everybody should, come around. Well, I'm here. I would gladly kick the tires on the experimental or whatever, on the expansion system until it gets to the point where it starts murdering my channel. Lester Chen, YouTube is not a serious streaming platform. It's a serious content platform, but it will never be treated as a serious streaming platform until some of the very, very fundamental problems with being a streamer on YouTube are solved. If you're a YouTuber who streams, fine. But if you're a streamer who wants to make the move to YouTube, there are some massive problems with the platform, not the least of which, and none of it is the stuff that people are making a big deal of. Oh, gifted memberships, that'll be so amazing. I'm sure it will. Oh, raids, that would be wonderful. I'm sure it will. But what these Twitch streamers who are hoping for greener pastures and a viable YouTube competitor don't want to talk about is the ugly reality that YouTube is basically Mixer with more money. So what was the problem with Mixer? Mixer was able to bring in talent, but they couldn't bring in an audience for that talent. And so fundamentally, they just couldn't survive as a streaming platform because Mixer just couldn't get viewers. They had a 100% talent inversion. It shows up in the numbers and the quarterlies until they shut down in the middle of 2020. Mixer, plain as day, forgot the most basic thing, which is one of the big reasons why I don't like the term normie that a lot of these big streamers are turning around. Do not ever, if you're a content creator, get derogatory towards your audience or come up with pet names for the people that watch. The regular people who watch are the reason why you're anything. Full stop. And some streamers nowadays are flexing their egos because they've gotten the critical mass and whatnot on streaming platforms, and they're going around like they're hot stuff and blah, 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 like nothing can take them down. False. There are YouTubers that have come and gone. There are YouTubers today who were big in 2010 or so that have maybe a sliver of their audience left, and they have no chance of having any decent numbers on YouTube ever again. It is possible for content creators to outgrow their own success and to age out of it. At the very same time, it's also possible for content creators to hang it up and disappear and leave their audience wondering where they went. But let's focus on YouTube's biggest problem. YouTube is Mixer with more money. Full stop. YouTube is Mixer with more money. Mixer couldn't succeed as a streaming platform because of a lack of viewers. Regular viewers. They started having problems with their stream ratios of everybody wanted to be a streamer, but not enough people wanted to watch. It shows up in their numbers. It's a thing all the way up until the service was shut down. But fundamentally, Mixer forgot something very important. Microsoft forgot something very important when they signed big name streamers, and then the big name streamers brought their audiences over, but fundamentally people weren't more likely to use Mixer as a platform just because there was big name talent there. There had to be a reason why people wanted to go to Mixer, not just to watch Ninja, not just to watch Shroud. There had to be a reason for people to choose Mixer over Twitch, and they didn't. Fast forward to YouTube. YouTube's streaming component, at least in terms of YouTube gaming, YouTube Live doesn't really count. The chat streams that some YouTubers do, like what I do, we don't really count either, because we're just YouTubers and streaming is basically an extension of what we already do. But YouTube, to be a destination for streamers, needs a lot of work. Many of the big name streamers are either banned off Twitch or sign contracts come over here. So they brought their audiences with them, whatever would still watch, even though it's on YouTube. But I have not really seen streamers really do well on YouTube that they probably couldn't have done on Twitch in the intervening years. Let's talk about a couple of Twitch streamers that came over to YouTube through these exclusivity contracts and YouTube basically buying their talent. Valkyrae only did a couple thousand concurrents tops on Twitch, came over to YouTube, but the thing is, she was the darling of the live streaming program for years. She was basically YouTube's answer to Pokimane. If you make that kind of acquisition, you don't want it to be a waste of time. And then the Among Us fad happened, and all the other stuff where, you know, collabing between Twitch streamers and YouTubers. And because we're not talking about a banned streamer here, then we're talking about somebody who can be learned about on Twitch. People thought, oh, she streams on YouTube, and they come over and her channel grows that way. But you look at some of the other big names, Tim the Tatman, Dr. Lupo, etc. I think Sykkuno will be next. There are a lot of these people that have come over from Twitch, and you look at the concurrence they have on YouTube, and it's either at or a little below where they were on Twitch. Now, that's pretty good in terms of audience retention, but the truth of the matter is their personality probably had a lot more to do with why they are as successful as they are as a YouTube streamer than anything YouTube did. So, yeah, there's a VOD culture, but it's a slow adoption thing. I don't think the acceleration of viewing streams differently than people view them on Twitch is gotta happen until YouTube starts putting some serious dents in Twitch as a platform. So it's kind of a, you know, it's kind of a chicken egg thing. What's got to come first in order to make that happen? And then there's stuff like this. Make sure that this Firefox is the only one available on the screen here. Let me close my side panel as well. And let me switch off to browser mode, link it up to Firefox. Most notably, we can zoom way the heck in on it. Channel content, zoom way the heck in on this current stream. Actually, YouTube should have a lock to private feature. Already demonetized. You know what I had to do to get this stream demonetized? Click go live. Oh, we detected something in your metadata that might be inappropriate. Oh, really? You detected something in my metadata that might be inappropriate. Well, let's check out the metadata. So you have the start screen. Let me just load the video details, which now is having trouble loading. Come on, YouTube. So you have the start screen. You have the starting soon screen, and you have Vibe Tracks Sugar, which is a dance track off of the YouTube audio library. And then, you know, then there's, of course, my picture as well. Is my picture inappropriate? Is my picture not advertiser friendly? Usually it's, oh, there's something in the metadata, title, descriptions, da-da-da. Here's the metadata. What's inappropriate? What's not advertiser friendly? YouTube should have a lock to private system. YouTube said videos and streams being locked to private was a bug. I think it would be a very useful feature if it actually made it into a formal system instead of strikes. Is the word strikes inappropriate? Smiley face. Thumbnail, playlist. No, it's not made for kids. No paid promotion. Click show more. Continue scrolling. MultimediaJay is the only tag in there because, as the text says, tags play a minimal role in helping viewers find your stream because tags is near deprecated. The category is near deprecated as well. So what's not advertiser friendly, YouTube? What's not advertiser friendly? Why did the stream get instantly demonetized, and why does it always happen to the chat streams? I know YouTube gaming and pushing YouTube gaming, blah, 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 but I mean, I want to be able to come on here and have my streams with similar content to my videos get treated the same by the monetization system. There is no reason to instantly demonetize a stream just because it's under people and blogs and it's a chat stream the minute it goes live. If I swear a lot, if I do stuff that's not advertiser friendly, blah, 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 then yeah, flip it over to yellow. But that doesn't happen for stream after stream after stream, instant demonetize. And you know what? You know what's crazier than that? Your system doesn't even get it right because, let's see. Let me load one more thing up. Let me go back to my content listing for live streams and let me filter it by monetization set to limited. There we go. Put it back on the screen, please. Browser mode. You know how many of those streams keep the automatic demonetization? None of them. There are no demonetized live streams left because when the extended processing completes, the stream switches over to monetized. So if this is a thing, how is anybody, and I mean anybody, supposed to take, especially when we know from search and discovery discussion videos that anything that's demonetized is basically limited in terms of where it gets recommended and stuff. Why, under any circumstances, should anybody take YouTube seriously as a streaming platform if this is the way it operates and stuff? Why? Good, I didn't robot again. Always good when I don't, have some audio glitch like that. Instant. And so as long as this continues to be a thing, YouTube is just not a serious platform. Now, of course, game streams, yeah. But what has gotten Twitch all the attention? The expansion categories. Game streams are nothing special, quite frankly. There are the people that are the best in the world at the game, usually former esports players, dominating the game categories and getting all the views. Once you're outside of video games, though, that's where people can come in and be artists, musicians, personalities of sorts. That's where the Mizkifs of the world can be successful and whatnot. So it is the non-gaming stuff that has drawn a lot of, that has represented a lot of growth on Twitch, as opposed to I have a computer or I have a console and I hit the share button and I share my Call of Duty game. Oh, I can be a Twitch streamer now. And I can buy some pre-made assets from some company, blah, 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 for alerts and things along those lines. I can have all of that stuff, and I'll look exactly like everybody else who has the exact same stuff. The old RPG Maker 2000 problem. No. People need to be able to come over here and make content and not be intimidated by it. Full stop. People need to be able to come over here and do what they want to do. They shouldn't have to worry about some robot getting in the way or some robot magically saying that they're not advertiser friendly just because they went live, not even giving them a chance to actually do anything on camera that should trigger that. So no. As long as this continues, YouTube is mixer with more money. You'll see that the talent coming over to YouTube often has juicy contracts attached to them. So YouTube basically has to buy talent to have any kind of serious streaming presence outside of YouTubers doing it on the side as an extension of what they do. What's it going to be? Anyways, let's move on to what we actually want to talk about now that this stream has been needlessly demonetized. The instant I went live. It could have been my, grumpy attitude that got it demonetized, but no, it was just the fact that I went live and I played a YouTube audio library track on this. It was either this screen or it was this. One of those is inappropriate. Please, YouTube. Please, Lester Chen, tell me which one it is. While you're going around grandstanding on Twitter, YouTube gaming, rah, 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 rah. Yeah, all these great features, yeah, but this is the thing. Just because YouTube finds a way to succeed at feature parity with Twitch, doesn't excuse YouTube from solving the YouTube specific problems when it comes to streaming on here. Seriously. Solve the discoverability problem, solve the directory problem, solve the gifted memberships problem, solve the other problems. Doesn't excuse YouTube from fixing the YouTube specific problems like overzealous robots getting in the way of you getting anywhere on YouTube. Magically demonetizing your stream just because you went live and something tripped something and nobody can tell me why. Just a form letter response. This system identifies blah, blah, blah. Just like your representatives are doing when we use the so-called creator support. They just regurgitate stuff from help files that I can already read for myself. Thank you very much. What's the point? Are these even people, or is the level 1 support all robots now that act like robocallers and stuff like that? Is that what this has come to? No. Enough. If you want to be taken seriously as a streaming platform, this crap cannot continue. It can't be a world where some computer system somewhere screws up and you get nowhere. It can't be a world where you get magically demonetized. It can't be a world where one day you have subscribers, the next day you don't. And then you do again the next day because we're vetting for fake or inactive subs. Yeah. So one day it can look like your channel is in total free fall, and then 3 days later you get all those subs back. And it turns out your channel was never in any trouble at all, but you were depressed about it. Maybe you were upset about it, and maybe you did lose subscribers that way. If people even sub in the first place. Let's not even try not to get into the discussion that is brewing about whether YouTube is so algorithmic it's turning into a post-subscription platform through technology. No, seriously. Seriously. This channel, stagnant since 2018. Stagnant. And even if you use YouTube casually, you have little reason to subscribe to people anymore. The systems say to do it, the help files say to do it, but the algorithms win in the end unless you ring the bell, and even then, who knows? What's the point of subscribing? And yet, creators are considered as having progressed on this platform or not based on the number of subs they have. Why is that still a thing? Why is it you need 1,000 subscribers to unlock this basic streaming feature? Or something like that. Why do you need 1,000 subscribers if YouTube is turning into a platform where there is so much algorithmic stuff going on that it is less and less worth it by the day for people to subscribe in the first place? I subscribe to people I like, but I'm old. I might be old school like that. There's so much algorithm crap that you can probably find plenty to watch without subscribing to anybody. And yet the subscription system remains considered important and propped up by YouTube, even though they work on the algorithms to basically defeat the purpose of it entirely. And they've been doing so for years. Reconcile that, YouTube. You have subs. You don't have subs. Oh, you do have subs. Oh, you don't have subs. You have views. Oh, wait, you don't have views. Oh, wait, yes, you do have views. Oh, you have engagement. Oh, you don't have engagement. Oh, da-da-da-da-da-da. Oh, your analytics say you're doing great. Oh, no, your channel sucks. You're in free fall. Oh, wait, no. It's just a math glitch. You're back at... Who can operate like that? Are we getting back? Does a Styx song from the late 70s have to describe 2020's YouTube? The problems plain to see. Too much technology. Machines to save our lives. Machines dehumanize. Are those even the lyrics to Mr. Roboto? Or have I misheard them because I've kind of been humming the song along and never actually looked at the lyrics? Styx, Mr. Roboto, lyrics. There used to be a site called misheardlyrics.com. It was like this too. Yeah, stuff like this. Machines to save our lives, machines dehumanize. Nope, I had it right I had it right to begin with, but why does YouTube have to be this way? So, Lester Chen, get that promotion, become the new head of whatever it is. Take charge, because YouTube, the streaming element of YouTube needs some leadership if you don't want it to just be traffic cams and wildlife cams. And some YouTuber just felt like streaming once in a while, but it's not anything they focus on. Does YouTube want to be a platform where the only way they'll have any decent streaming talent is to buy their talent? Anyways, let's move on to the next topic in the recap discussion before we get into the we're gonna check the laundry during a jazz intermission. Weird, because we're using Vibe Tracks music for the start and end songs here. YouTube should have a lock to private system. There was a glitch on YouTube that is supposedly a bug, but I think it's really useful. We'll definitely take some time to collect our thoughts with jazz intermission for that. All right, let's get into what's going on with why the tech videos are going to become less of a thing. First, summertime. I'm not so sure I really want an air conditioner going in the background during the hotter months of the year. So I think when I'm running the full-time air conditioner, this heat wave that we're supposed to have this weekend was supposed to be Saturday, Sunday, 95 degrees. Saturday, Sunday, 95 degrees. It actually turned into Saturday, didn't hit 90 degrees. The dew point was supposed to push 70, which would make it sweltering. Only made it into the low to mid 60s. So pretty much feels like summer. Not anything too exciting. The AC that I have running right now is the secondary AC off in the kitchen, which mostly serves as a dehumidifier. It's keeping it at 75, but it's like 72 outside. So it's not really able to drop the temperature, but it's great at bringing down the humidity 20 points and making it really nice in here. I also took the lava lamp out of the setup because the lava lamp runs off of heat, and so I don't want it fighting against the air conditioning all summer. I'm actually looking for some devices to mix things up with the fiber lamp over there. I was actually looking at some blue flame lamps. LED technology has gotten to the point where there's these lamps you can get that look like there's a flame in them. So, but I don't really want something flickering over there. Everything else lighting-wise is consistent. Plus, here's the ultimate problem with flame lamps. They kind of undo literally centuries of technology with lighting. The electric light, when it took over from candles and torches and stuff, replaced a flickery, inconsistent light source with something that was on all the time. But now we're getting like, oh, well, maybe around Halloween it makes sense to have flame lamps for where the trick-or-treaters show up. Or maybe if you're simulating a fireplace or something, the flicker of a fireplace and making it cozy like that, that's cool. But for normal daily driver lighting, I don't think flickery lights would be all that great. It would just probably bother people if something was constantly flickering back there. But yeah, warmer months of the year, the lava lamp is out. It'll probably generate too much heat, and I don't want that fighting against the air conditioner all summer. So yes, we're finishing up the whole e-machine thing. Then we're going to move on to some stuff. I want to try my hand at some video essays, which would be a lot more summertime friendly in the summer because I'll mostly be using OBS with its noise blockers to record narration. I'm looking to make gaming videos look really, really good, similar to like old school machinima or something, to make some points about some things going on in ESO and World of Warcraft and stuff like that. Get some practice on those, then maybe make some other videos as well. If you've ever seen Mad Season's channel, he's one of my key inspirations here. But one of the things I've been doing recently when I haven't been watching streamers is I've been taking a look at the video essay scene on YouTube is basically taken over my algorithms, my recommendations on the front page. So there's all these video essays out there. Some of them are a half hour long, some of them are an hour long, things like that. You really can't be on YouTube in the 2020s without it being some kind of video essay, without some kind of video essay coming across your feeds at some point. They're just that popular. I got a feeling there's entire swaths of YouTubers these days who basically make video essays about whatever topics they feel like talking about. So I never thought I'd see the day when YouTube would turn into like this internet successor to the History Channel, but here we are. I mean, this is something that's kind of developed under our noses. There are some channels that basically were video essays, but less obvious, like say Alternate History Hub or something along those lines, and things along or stuff like that. But by and large, you know, these narration-driven videos, I think, have a potential to be higher quality than anything I can do with any cameras that don't cost an arm and a leg. That might be why they're so popular, too. There's less of a hardware hurdle in this day and age where everybody puts on makeup and they vlog in front of their $1,000 DSLR and stuff, or their, like, $1,000 iPhone. Crazy, you know, what becomes popular on YouTube and what becomes unpopular on YouTube when the fads die. So it's really something else altogether. So during the warmer months of the year, instead of having tech videos with an air conditioner going in the window all the time, or maybe less of them, I should say, I want something that'll be less affected by the need to air condition the house. And I don't want to return to the old radio style thing where I'm turning off the AC and then trying to record before it gets boiling hot in here. Stuff like that, because I turn off all the fans. There's lots of cool stuff that live streaming has made into something that's available from a production standpoint for the for people making YouTube videos. And it's just the sort of thing it's really cool that it exists these days. So for the month of June, though, there's going to be something big going on in this town. So here's what's going on. Been here a couple of years now, and the town has trash pickup as a service. Rare out here in these woods. But the town has trash pickup as a service. The prices have been the same the entire time that I've been here. Now, I think just about everybody in this town knew that at some point inflation would catch up to those services, and the prices would go up for garbage removal, bulk removal for big stuff that you might want to have hauled off, things like that. There's also a recycling program for electronics that has been modernized and renovated, so it's easier to use now. So there's no more hours, so a night shift guy like myself can now go and drop stuff off anytime I want. They have cameras, though, so if I don't want to get slapped with a dumping charge, it needs to be the appropriate stuff that the flyer says it is. So it's really cool the town's actually looking to renovate some of these services. The problem is the garbage side of it. There are some services that are doubling in price July 1st. And it's understandable. Companies that need to make some more money because of increases in costs and other stuff, the price of diesel, for example, with all the crap going on with the pandemic inflation, as well as, of course, the war over in Ukraine and stuff. Although I give Putin less credit than the United States government does for inflation, because anybody with any formal business background of any kind, which includes me, should be able to tell you that inflation, a very traditional definition, is too much money chasing too few goods. So you think about the long running effects of the pandemic, the supply chain disruptions, the factory shutdowns, the Shanghai lockdown, the hiccups in the ports, the things that disrupt the flow of goods represent too few goods. That half of the inflation equation. Now, on the other side, you have the Great Resignation, and you have all the stuff where the pandemic fundamentally and the lockdowns in 2020 fundamentally changed the way people view certain kinds of jobs, the way people view jobs in general, as well as the way the oil industry views itself when we had that fateful day when the price of oil dipped into the negative numbers for a bit after the day of the oil crash around the time of the lockdowns. And oil companies got to see a little taste of what's going to happen when renewable tech becomes more mainstream and more developed. So all of those things had consequences, fundamental consequences to things. And so you have the companies raising wages to try and attract talent because people view jobs differently now that we've had that essential versus non-essential thing and the stuff along those lines. People had some time to sit home at work, and the development of remote technology made remote work, remote school, remote everything a thing, strengthened the already growing flex work scene where you can do work remotely. There are jobs even in corporate America that are 100% remote nowadays. Just have a professional setup for doing things at home and you can do things remotely, and it's a thing people are looking for, especially younger people closer to being fresh college graduates who, by the way, the Zoomers graduating college nowadays grew up with smartphones. They have never known a world where there wasn't some kind of iPhone in a lot of cases. So it's a fundamental shift in the way people are, the way they view work, and the way they view dumb jobs that you'd normally get just to keep a roof over your head while working on going on to something else. Or if you stay at the job for too long, there used to be people thought there was something wrong with you, blah, 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 blah. So the people working those jobs, companies had to raise wages just to stay staffed. More money. On the goods thing, hiccups and other stuff, the long-standing effects of the pandemic coupled with the effects of the war, less goods. Too much money chasing too few goods equals inflation. It's going to take a market cool off and people not spending as much for that to go in the other direction, and hopefully it doesn't throw the market into a recession. Really basic economic stuff. That's something that anybody with a business background should be able to figure out and be logical about, instead of politicizing the hell out of it and screeching about it on the internet. But anyways, back to the local problem we have. Some services are doubling in price. So everything that people had sitting around that they might want to get rid of later on down the road, they've been blowing off, they're going to try to do it. So I think for the month of June, I'm going to call it the Trash Scramble. And I'm not talking about like hoarders with bags and bags of garbage and their place is disgusting and they're getting evicted by their landlords for being, messy people that hoard garbage in their apartments and stuff. I'm not talking about that. That's the extreme version of this. I'm talking about somebody with like a piece of furniture that they can't sell, that they're thinking of getting rid of, and they've just been meaning to get to it because it's heavy, blah, blah, blah. I'm one of those. The plaid sofa I want gone. I know it was in the Ashens pastiches back in the day, but it just doesn't fit with this place and the kind of minimalist furniture I want to have, so it's easy to move out. So I actually want to get rid of the sofa, replace it with something that functions like a sofa, but is a lot more portable. Much in the same way, I want to take a look at my traditional furniture that I have and think about replacing it with Techni-Mobility stuff. The problem is, with the inflation crap going on right now, everything costs too much. So I don't really want to be buying anything until things cool off. I don't really want to buy anything until things cool off. And that'll take, of course, progress on the pandemic or the virus going into eclipse worldwide, things along those lines. By the way, for anybody who thinks that electing a certain politician in the midterms this fall is going to do any of this stuff, it will not. They're going to pretend they can do something to get your vote. But it is simple supply, demand, and tinstoffel. There is no such thing as a free lunch. So, simple market forces. This would happen regardless of who was president. It would happen regardless of who your senators were. It would happen regardless of who was in power. Just simple things with a virus, as the virus is a threat to civilization. It is a threat to our life as we know it. And unlike the terrorist attacks of just over 20 years ago, America has not united together to say, we're not going to stand for this. Instead, we get whatever Fox News is doing and all the screwball stuff that people have done as they've proven to the world that they're emotional windbags who can't even think straight. Earlier today, I was taking a look at local social media in a neutral browser. People that don't realize how stupid they're making themselves look through posts that are visible publicly on social media. And even on Facebook, some of those org pages that are public facing, you may be posting, you may think, oh, people need an account to see this. Not if they dial in the URL of the page directly. I was reading a lot of screwball stuff from all the anti-vaxxers that I've blocked in this area, just to see how screwy they all still are, and they all pretty much are at this point. And it's just crazy how these people get emotionally wound up and then don't realize just how stupid they're making themselves look through their rants on the internet, and this stuff is publicly visible. So they try to get a job somewhere. HR can just poke around on social media and see what kind of crap they're saying on Facebook without even having to have an account. This has repercussions. It has consequences, but there's so many people out there that haven't yet figured that out. And so they're there with their real name. They're there with their real name in local social media. So it's easy to, narrow down whether it's them or not that put in the application for your job. You see this person flipping out on Facebook on a public-facing page, and you're like, hold on a second. Do we really want to hire this person? Yeah, I'm sure that's more of a thing than I make it sound. But it's just crazy the way people are. They don't realize how nuts they're making themselves look, that they're completely incapable of level-headed stuff. And tell me this, those of you who are trying to staff up in this mess, do you really want your team filled up with emotional windbags who can't think straight and can't be level-headed and can't handle any problems at all that businesses inevitably encounter because they handle every adversity they face very, very poorly and go on tirades on the internet because of it? It's crazy. Anyways, the trash scramble is going to be a thing in this town. Going back to that. to round out the discussion. The trash scramble is going to be a thing in this town because the prices all go up July 1st. Guarantee you the month of June, people are going to be scouring what it is that they have, and they're going to be asking the tough questions. Probably going to see more trash pickup, more bulk pickup, more everything. Guarantee you, and it's going to get worse and worse as we get closer to the deadline. So if I want to jettison any of this before the price goes up, sometimes doubles, I got to take care of this too. So there will not be anywhere near as much of a focus on what I do on any of these platforms throughout the month of June while I'm getting that all worked out and trying to figure out what I want to do when, and particularly the furniture situation. Like, for example, my bookcases that I've had since childhood, a little too heavy. I'd rather have something more standardized and lighter. So if I want to move from this place, I don't need a lot of people helping me to move the furniture. So I got to figure that part out. Maybe switch off to something lighter or something like that. Get some Walmart bookshelves or something like that. Or get something cheap. So, you know, if it breaks when I'm moving, I just go to Walmart and I pick up like a $30 replacement or something. Whatever they go for. Well, I'm sure today with what's going on, they're closer to 40 or 50. But anyways, yeah. So that'll be a thing during the month of June. And then we got to figure out what to do about the summer. Video essays. Can we still do tech videos? Can we still do anything when it's air conditioner season? There's 2 air conditioners in this place. The secondary one, you can barely, you know, we could turn it down and it won't be as loud. The secondary one is way off in the kitchen, far away from where I do any stuff. Primary one goes in that specific window. It's the best window in the entire house to put in an air conditioner to for noise reasons as well as other stuff. That window back there, that second window, is the one the air conditioner goes in. That's why I keep the air conditioner right next to it during the off season. It's the project area, so it fits in pretty well with, you know, stuff being tinkered with all around it, even though I don't cover it up or anything. So you have all of that. That goes in the window, and when it's in the window, it's going to be loud, make noise, and I don't want the neighbors to be able to hear what I'm doing, so I keep the fan running all the time. So it's just one of those things. I don't want to come in here and do a stream and get the cops called on me at 2 a.m. because I have somewhat the equivalent of an open window with an air conditioner in it, as opposed to everything being closed right now. And I know how far sound travels. My subwoofer doesn't even make it very far out of the house, even when I have it basing it up at like 28 hertz. So I can actually do whatever I want in here when the windows are closed. Just got to figure out the limits when everything's open. But we have that going on. And we have the other stuff going on. Let's get up and let me see how the laundry's doing. See if it's done yet. Do a little jazz intermission. Then when we come back, we need to talk about this lock to private thing. There's a bug that's been going around on YouTube that I think has a lot more potential than anybody talking about it says it is. Those abrupt song endings. Seriously, it's just like, whatever, man. I'm trying to get this to where, you know, I come back at the right time, but then of course it gets like Winamp and the old plugins for like, oh yeah, Winamp, oh yeah, we can eliminate the quiet space between songs, blah blah blah. All right, title of the stream is actually YouTube should have a lock to private system. Now, there's something that's been going on. Let me open up my Chrome here. There's something that's been going on this specific week, and YouTube says it's a known issue. They've actually fixed it. But I think YouTube should actually pursue this as a system. So the known issue is over on Soyan at support.google.com/blah, blah, blah. We have a chat. We can actually put it in the chat. We can probably put it in the description as well later on. Wow, watch the boom thingy. So Google YouTube thread 124.295.424. Hope this link doesn't change to something else in 10 years. So there's a known issue where people were having videos locked to private. YouTube is treating this like it's some kind of software bug, but to quote the famous Bill Gates line that was used to make fun of computers in the Windows 98, 2000, etc. era, it's not a bug, it's a feature. This could actually be a feature that I think would really be useful. So I've got on screen, which is why I'm being lit really good right now, one of the letters that somebody who had their, was it a live stream? Yeah, it was a game stream they were doing. Yeah, so they had a game stream that got locked to private. This is something I've never heard of before, but it's been showing up in the feeds all week long for Team YouTube, trying to deal with all the people that are like, hey, you know, I'm not violating any policies. Why are your systems flagging everything as, why are your systems locking all my stuff to private to where I need to make changes or appeal in order for it to be taken off private? And I was thinking for a second, you know what? That sounds like a good idea. As usual, YouTube is a little overzealous with the technology if this happens to be some kind of skunkworks test of a new feature that just happened to leak, whatever. But if YouTube ever gets this worked out, this could actually be something really, really good for the platform, because it can represent essentially a replacement for strikes for things other than copyright. Let me read the letter here. Here's the email that somebody received who had their something locked to private. Hi, so-and-so, drop the name, of course. Our team has reviewed your content, and we think you may need to make changes to make sure it doesn't violate our spam, deceptive practices, and scams policy. In the meantime, we've made the following content private. And so it was some kind of playthrough of a PC game that I think was a live stream. We haven't applied a strike to your channel. If you make changes or if you think we've made a mistake, you can request to have your content public again. However, there may be some instances where YouTube keeps your content private. What locked as private means? Content locked as private won't appear on your channel or in search results, and it won't be visible to other users. So, this is something, by the way, that already exists in the world of social media. It just doesn't exist on YouTube, or at least it didn't. If you ever posted something on Facebook that ran afoul of something, you would see the offending post turned into only you can view it, and it can't be viewed by anybody else. Usually for like community guidelines or something, you could appeal. You could say, oh, it's a false positive or whatever. And of course, let's see, it was a live stream. Ah, okay. And it was locked to private as a result of that. So here's the issue. This specific instance, when YouTube's letter said it might violate our spam, deceptive practices, and scams policy, you know what the number one thing that people lose their accounts over is in terms of violations of policy on YouTube? Spam, scams, and deceptive content. There was even one of their transparency reports YouTube released that had a donut graph of reasons why people's channels get instantly terminated without any strikes. And channels terminated because of 3 strikes were listed as multiple violations and given their own thing in the donut graph. The single biggest, by like 80+% majority of the time, it was spam, scams, and deceptive content. The second biggest piece on the donut was sexual content. Way smaller. And then literally everything else was in the leftovers. So, locked to private could actually, if it was for like stuff that could run afoul of a policy, if they had it working for the spam, scams, and deceptive content policy, they would have something then that keeps people from getting their accounts shut down and gives them a chance to right the ship, so to speak, without getting struck off the platform. There's a couple of things that people talk about. One of the things that people talk about on YouTube is how things change over time. Could you upload a video in like 2014 that was appropriate then that runs afoul of a policy in 2024 and get you a strike? That's the thing. And if we look at strikes in general, YouTube's own progression with strikes has moved away from, well, YouTube's own progression with their own systems in certain areas has moved away from strikes. You see the PowerPoint's going to link up automatically here. PowerPoint mode. Actually, YouTube should have a lock to private system. So let's see here. This week, what week? May 2022. In May 2022, it was a bug, but I think it should be a feature. So lock to private equals alternative to strikes for creators that gives them a chance to fix offending content. Now, this is a big thing we got to keep an eye on here, is because one of the things that you got to ask yourself with these platforms is, what happens if you get a little older and you're a little more mature about things? Let's say you come onto YouTube as a teenager, 18 years old, fresh out of high school or something. You get yourself banned from YouTube because of stuff that you're naive about by the time you're 22. When you come back at 30 or 40 or 50, should that even matter? And one of the ways you get around all of that is by avoiding strikes whenever possible. But what can you do to do something about problematic content without handing out strikes all the time? Exactly what YouTube has already done before. Develop a system that is an alternative for this. In May of 2022, it was a bug, but I think it should be a feature. Lock to private equals alternative to strikes for creators that gives them a chance to fix offending content. Very important. The progression of technology on YouTube has been away from strikes. The classic example, as we saw with Twitch DMCA Mageddon, was with copyright. You know, it used DMCA, Content ID introduced an alternative to DMCAing all the time, and platforms without it are still stuck in the DMCA Stone Age. And you go, oh yeah, Twitch, right? Yeah, partly Twitch. They do have some agreement with music publishers nowadays or something like that. Partly Twitch, but also Twitter. Twitter is something that doesn't. Twitter is a platform that doesn't get any real publicity. Probably because people aren't really conditioned to really look for problems with Twitter outside of the trolling problem that is such a problem on Twitter, and just how Twitter's design makes it so easy to be toxic to people. But Twitter actually has some problems with DMCA because they don't have Content ID. There have been times when I've seen streamers be like, wait, how come my tweet got DMCA'd? And they don't realize they're playing commercial music in the background of their stream. And even if there's like some kind of licensing system on Twitch and Facebook, or some kind of other system on Twitch and Facebook, and Content ID on YouTube, where the record company just takes ad revenue, on Twitter, strikes only. The only response they have is strikes. So I've seen people get DMCA'd on Twitter with clips from the stream that was fine on Twitch or YouTube, or videos that were fine on YouTube because they just got content ID'd. And so the issue here with this is the progression of technology on YouTube has been away from strikes. So copyright is one of the few ways that you can actually, is one of various things you can actually get strikes in your channel from. This begs the question, what about community guidelines? Suppose there was an alternative to a community guidelines strike. Suppose there was an alternative to something that constantly got you strikes when you may not have even known that you were breaking the rules. Maybe you don't nerd out on YouTube's support documents, which, by the way, are getting bigger and bigger all the time as definitions of various categories of offensive content get fleshed out. I can tell you, I don't even keep up on all of that. I have to go back and read them every so often to see what the new examples are. And even with YouTube's YouTube channels, like YouTube Creators and the unofficial one, Creator Insider, which I'm a big fan of, it's still easy to fall behind on something or miss some policy change or something and potentially end up in trouble as a YouTuber because of something you weren't caught up on reading-wise. Then, of course, there's the issue of losing talent. That probably deserves its own bullet point. YouTube is in a talent war versus lots of other platforms now. They don't have the monopoly that they used to. So striking someone off the platform is something to should be banning creators should be a last resort. Think about it this way, and we just saw it with Chud Logic, by the way. He got banned on Twitch, and he was like, well, I'm just going to go stream on YouTube for a couple of days. And after coming back to Twitch, he has, like, I think Sundays or something, 1 day a week, where he streams on YouTube specifically to do things like talk about banned streamers, specifically to do the things that Twitch doesn't want him doing on their platform. So what exactly, this is something everybody has to ask who's involved anywhere in this stuff. What exactly does banning someone do? Because there have been ways around you'll find like Twitch streamers and their ilk being like, ban evasion. Only in that part of the internet is there that kind of accusatory language about that kind of behavior. Wasn't a thing on YouTube in the past, isn't a thing in various parts of the internet, largely because people view bans as worse than they actually are. Let's say you come to my Twitch stream and I ban you. I can make a big deal. I banned you because you suck. You were banned, blah, blah, blah. You know what I did to you? I kicked you out of chat. That's it. And you can't get gifted subs anymore. That's all I've done. You can still watch, and some Twitch streamers actually complain about how banned people can still watch, and banned people can still cause problems. Just ask anybody with a lot of banned people who raided someone, and it's somebody they never raided before, and now all the banned people are unbanned, so until the moderators in the other channel catch up, then what? And of course, there are defensive moves that certain streamers and orgs and things like that are doing, or that have friends are doing when they pass off each other's ban lists to each other. But then again, what if you have a problem with streamer A, but you get banned from both streamer A and streamer B simply because of this collusion between the content creators? Suppose you are only ever going to have a problem with streamer A, you'll never have a problem with streamer B, but you're banned in both channels. And by that, I mean just kicked out of the chat, and you can't gift subs. Matter of fact, there's nothing stopping you from subbing even. Then, of course, I mean, you can always use a neutral browser. Same thing with blocks on Twitter. So I blocked someone on Twitter. Yeah, they're just going to use a neutral browser to read your tweets. They'll just bookmark you in their neutral browser that's not signed in. Look, it's better to just behave on the internet than to go around trying to start fights with people. Full stop. And this applies to organizations as well. It is better for YouTube to save banning users as a last resort, whether there's like a legal risk or a brand risk or law enforcement's getting involved. It needs to be something really serious if you've been perma-banned from YouTube. Not that you didn't have any idea how DMCA works and you put up like some stuff with commercial music 3 times. Of course, that's part of the DMCA provisions of things. But at the very same time, there's content ID as an alternative for rights holders. The thing is, when it comes to abusing the copyright system, nowadays, I don't really see that from music labels anymore, unlike on Twitch. YouTube invested in the system, and it offers an alternative to strikes all the time, which lets YouTube take the process in-house versus DMCA, which is technically a legal process under United States law. So you have that that's available, but not on like Twitch or anything. If you don't have that, it's strikes only. So why wouldn't YouTube want to develop the rest of their disciplinary systems to allow for alternatives to strikes, especially when strikes can actually create essentially a game that people play who hate you to try and get you kicked off of certain features. So if somebody can find a way to get you a community guidelines strike, that kicks you off of uploads and streaming for a week for that sort of thing. It's not like, say, a 1-day ban on Twitch or something. You start with basically the equivalent of a 1-week ban where you can't upload for a week. So if somebody wanted to critically cripple someone's ability to advance their channel, they just have to find a way to get them a community guidelines strike by any means necessary. And YouTube's been developing the counter systems to try and oppose like false DMCAs and other stuff, but they can just continue playing this cat and mouse game, or they can fundamentally do for the rest of their policies what they've already done with DMCA. That is, come up with an alternative. And of course, let's not forget the Chud Logic example. Let's not forget the Chud Logic example at all. Twitch banned Chud Logic, so he just went to YouTube. Twitch banned Dr. Disrespect, so he went to YouTube. Twitch banned Gideon, so he went to YouTube. Actually went back to YouTube. And he's bigger on YouTube than he was on Twitch. So, when Facebook starts getting their act together, and they're not then their Facebook gaming isn't such a laughing stock, so to speak, and Facebook Live and Facebook Video are actually more advertised than they currently are. YouTube, really, the bottom line is YouTube's not a gatekeeper anymore. We're going to see a day and age where, unless you're talking collusion between huge tech companies, which would draw antitrust regulators, we're talking about an environment where YouTube is no longer the gatekeeper to video. YouTube is, I mean, it's the most popular platform, but it's not the only way to host video on the internet. It's not the only way to live stream on the internet. Twitch is in a similar position. Everybody else offers streaming, so now you got to take a look at your own disciplinary procedures and ask yourself, all right, we got this streamer with 5,000 concurrents on Twitch. We've got them locked into an exclusivity contract through their partnership and stuff like that. Do we really want to lose them when they'll probably just go running off to YouTube and join the people streaming on YouTube and take their audience with them? Do we really want that? And if the rivalry between YouTube and Facebook heats up more, do you really want that? Oh, yeah, you know, do you really want to hope they get banned off the other platform in order for your ban to have any kind of effect? When in many cases, people are just going to learn, the better people will actually learn their lesson. So you basically lost talent to your competitor by banning them. Suppose you have a situation where somebody gets banned off of YouTube, but Facebook is a viable competitor to YouTube in every single area because Facebook fixes all their crap. Somebody goes over, they get their act together, they thrive on Facebook and bring their audience with them and bring all that traffic with them. What has YouTube accomplished other than losing talent? So you see what I mean? There needs to be something very serious going on, like, say, content creator gets thrown in prison for perma-banning to be anything. There needs to be something like that. So it is incumbent upon YouTube to do for everything else what they have already done with DMCA, offer an alternative. So let's imagine a situation where lock to private is not just some bug that pops up once. Let's suppose lock to private is a regular feature. If your video gets flagged, it gets knocked offline until you appeal it, or you use the already robust cloud editing tools to correct the video. Let's say you make a video and somebody has a problem with you filming them and you don't find out about it because they never tell you. They find your video and they file a privacy complaint. Your video gets thrown offline. You go into the YouTube cloud editor and you edit it to blur out that person's face. Video goes back online. You see, content creators already have this option with DMCA. If Content ID isn't something you want to be putting up with, you can use the beta song scrubber, which maybe someday it'll come out of beta. It tries to use machine learning to remove the background song. So if YouTube gets it right, you can just set it up to where the song will be highly degraded or removed from the video, and you don't have to take the video down to release the claim. Imagine that for community guidelines. Especially in the climate that we're heading into, where YouTube and Facebook at some point are going to have some big showdown as like Coke and Pepsi level rivals, or Red Sox, Yankees, or think of any kind of like major rivalry that has existed in corporate America. So a lock to private system basically helps to avoid a lot of strikes in the same way that Content ID did this stuff for copyright. So you got to ask yourself, oh, well, won't people just upload? All right, well, let's see here. Lock to private has ways of policing itself. Let's see, of self-policing. I want that to be one line. So lock to private has ways of self-policing. Let's say, you just keep trying to upload the video even afterwards. Well, YouTube has a policy regarding circumvention. Now you're deliberately trying to play the system. YouTube now knows you're being malicious. Whereas, that's probably a better thing, too. That's probably a better way to say it. Lock to private gives creators the benefit of the doubt and lets them fix mistakes. Let's see here. That they might not know about. Sure, shoot. They might miss. So, let's say there's, like we said, the privacy issue. You didn't know you were filming somebody in your YouTube video who didn't want to be on camera. They submit a privacy complaint. Your video goes to private. You're told that somebody, you go and you blur out the face. See, maybe you could get the name of the person or whatnot, or you get what they look like and you go blur them out. Same thing with the song scrubber. You don't want your ad revenue going off to a music company, and YouTube doesn't want to make the system proportionate, so the ad revenue from a 6-hour stream doesn't all go to a record company because of a 3-minute song. This is what you do. Here's the thing with lock to private. The reason I mention this is just what I just got done talking about. It gives creators the benefit of the doubt. So imagine a situation where you actually are malicious. You want to upload a video that violates the harassment policy against somebody that you can't stand. YouTube locks the video to private, so you delete the video and re-upload it. Well, now the circumvention policy is in play, and YouTube has hard evidence with what you've done that you are being malicious and trying to go after the system. Then we can start talking strikes. If you do the right thing, though, and you edit out the issue, the video goes public again, and you had a chance to actually correct your mistakes. Maybe you find out that someone was offended by it, etc. And you may be thinking, well, what if somebody just moves on? What if somebody just keeps uploading videos and they only stay up long enough before they get taken down and locked to private? What about that? Well, here's the thing. If you go to a YouTube channel, when things are locked to private, you're out of the search results. Your video is out of the search results. It disappears. Only you can see it. Similar to what Facebook already has. When you have something that, and you can appeal it, of course, but your post gets set that only you can view it. Nobody else can view it. So if you're constantly running afoul of the system, you are constantly going to have an empty YouTube channel because your stuff's going to keep getting taken down. and you're going to be given a chance to fix it. So the more you do this, the more your channel is empty and the more work you have to do to get videos back up there. So how much do you want your workload to snowball in order to keep your channel going and have stuff that people can actually watch and have views coming in, have other stuff coming in? So you see, to the right person, lock to private as an alternative to what already exists on YouTube introduces a lot of motivation through the system for people to do the right thing. Then you just have to figure out what to do about things like false flagging and other stuff like that. So that's just the thing. It's just the thing to think about. Lock to private is an alternative to strikes, and it fits in line with the way YouTube has traditionally developed their technology. There's something else in business that is extremely important for this. If not you, then who? We just talked about this with regards to Facebook. I think YouTube should develop this technology and make it a mainstream feature of how YouTube operates. You know why? If not you, then who? If they don't develop this, somebody else will. And when someone beats them to the punch on it, now they're scrambling to make it on their own platform, which technically Facebook has already beaten them to the punch on this. Subnote, Facebook already has a system where posts that violate guidelines get set to only you can, in terms of visibility. So Facebook already has this. This represents YouTube catching up to Facebook in this area. Still want to believe me that the red-blue rivalry isn't going to be a thing? It is. And as Facebook gets their act together, the only reason, look, I talk about Twitch, a lot of the reason why Twitch stays as relevant as it is because YouTube can't get their stuff together on certain things. We talked about some of them at the beginning of the stream. This is also true from between YouTube and Facebook. YouTube is still as big as it is because Facebook, which fundamentally is more omnimedia than YouTube, support for video, both types, streaming, both gaming and non-gaming, text updates, pictures, groups, the whole 9 yards. Facebook is more omnimedia than YouTube. YouTube, with some of the things like community posts and the lower subscription requirements to have them, is trying to catch up to Facebook in terms of being omnimedia. But the features are not as hammered out as well as Facebook's are. If you do, for example, pictures on YouTube, they're limited size-wise. Someone on a big screen like this can't zoom way the heck in on it. So if Facebook got their stuff together and they weren't in the laughable situation they're at right now with the government scrutiny and is Facebook and Instagram damaging people's mental health and all that other stuff, if Facebook wasn't in the position that they're in right now, they'd be a lot more of a YouTube competitor and YouTube would be scrambling more. So the bottom line is things have changed a lot since the days when YouTube was pretty much a video platform, the most popular video platform in the world, and they basically were gatekeepers to people that wanted to make videos on the internet. YouTube having a problem with you meant a lot more back then than it does now. In this day and age where you have YouTube, you have TikTok, and of course, let's also not forget the development of alternative platforms when people fundamentally disagree with the leadership of these big tech companies. Think like video platforms like BitChute and stuff. And if there ever is the Donald Trump alternative to Twitter, so if that ever became something serious, then of course CDNs take a heck of a lot of money in order to develop. So if, for example, if there was something like that or something that disrupted social media as we know it, much in the way social media disrupted traditional media in lots of different ways, then what? So yeah, lock to private, creative benefit of the doubt, lets them fix mistakes they might miss. Let's also throw in that lock to private creates a system where certain people want to do better. Of course, we can talk about, what is this here? Yeah, Dan, I know Truth Social is a thing, but it wasn't a big deal. But one of the things that business teaches you is that no company is ever invincible. Every company that has ever looked like they were invincible got disrupted by somebody along the way. there have been some companies that have had their business models disrupted that were probably the last company that you would ever expect to have to deal with that stuff. The railroads were unstoppable until the automobile disrupted them. Blockbuster Video gobbled up all the small video stores until Netflix disrupted them. Netflix was the streaming service until viable competition from rights holders started challenging them, and here we are today with Netflix actually being in trouble, despite becoming, part of our vocabulary over the past couple of years. Netflix and chill, binge watching Netflix, all the social phenomenons revolving around Netflix, and yet you have all the plus services, Disney Plus, Discovery Plus, all these services that are disrupting what it means to have streaming stuff. And even the term streaming, what does that even mean anymore? Does it mean a Twitch streamer who streams like 6 hours a day? When you could log on to ABC News and you can go over to YouTube and look at ABC News, ABC, the most internet friendly of the big news media networks over here. They've been more internet friendly than their competition for a very, very long time. They used to have a website where they live streamed their ABC News Now feed and stuff. ABC has been very, 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 very pro technology compared to NBC and CBS. They've adopted things faster and they have a more robust setup. There have even been times when other networks that have backed off on some of their live stream stuff, ABC hasn't. So ABC News hasn't. Like C-SPAN, used to be able to watch all 3 C-SPANs on the internet. But then when cord cutters became a thing. So what it means, watching a stream is becoming a bit more muddied these days. You have your Twitch streamers, but even among Twitch streamers, there's the orgs, and there's the orgs, and there's the non-human channels that are popping up even on Twitch. There's OTK and its impact on its member streamers, where it looks like they're slightly less of what they were in order to conform to the requirements of their management. I've been seeing that with SFan, Asmongold. I'm wondering if Emiru has the same problem as well, though I'm not as familiar with her streaming. So, Asmongold, SFan, Mizkif, Seer. I often wonder if being the agreements they have to agree to remain in OTK are taking a dent out of how they used to express themselves. I don't know. It's the sort of thing where these orgs have to figure it out. And then what happens if OTK has some kind of stream on their own channel? They don't represent one specific person. It's an organization. So streaming is getting really muddied. Watching a stream can mean lots of different things. It can mean there's a person on the other side. It can mean there isn't a person on the other side. It can be television 2.0 with a chat on the side, or it can be literally just like television where there is no chat and you're just watching a live feed of something. It means lots of different things. Anyways, back to what we're talking about. Lock to private creates a system where certain people want to do better. We're talking about, for example, circumvention policy, or snowballing workloads for malicious YouTubers. So if you keep trying to break this, we just talked about that earlier. Also, let's see here, etc. You don't want a channel with no content because you keep running afoul of various policies. And then there's the anachronism effect. See here, you get the chance to fix old videos that now need to be fixed. Question that a lot of YouTubers have had for the longest time. So I think this is really all we need in terms of notes for this. I don't think it needs to go to a second page. But lock to private, it's a bug, but I don't think it should stay a bug. I think YouTube should double down on this and develop something. And the reason why I think it's a new system being developed is because I think something screwed up. Usually you can expect technical screw-ups with YouTube with the heavy dependence upon technology. But if I look back at, let me see here, lock to private, YouTube video, let me just do locked. I'm trying to use Twitter search to come up with all the tweets that I've been seeing this year. So, yeah, live streaming a Resident Evil game. The stream got locked to private. Added chapters to an existing YouTube video, locked to private. No appeal available. Let's see what else is here. Let's see. Spam scams, another one. You might have a problem with spam, scams, deceptive content. The video is locked to private. See here. That's something else. Third-party service hasn't yet been through a verification process. Somebody was using a third-party thing to upload YouTube videos. That's something else. 4 views, locked to private. Yes, this is all stuff that's been... Oh, this is all old. This is all stuff from earlier. So this actually goes back. This actually goes back a while, and they've been working on this. So there's something on somebody's phone. There's something on somebody's phone here. Let's see. So locked to private's a system that's been around for a while, but it actually, yeah. So this is something from April 1st, 2021 now. This is something that YouTube's been working on for a while, and it just took over Team YouTube's responses this week. Let me actually take a look at this. So this is not even a new system either. Interesting. Let's see. I'm just trying to get past the stuff where people talk about how they lost their channels, etc. Deleting a vid, so many. You see all the other issues. I'm checking their tweets and replies. I'm checking Team YouTube's tweets and replies from this kind of stuff. Let's see. How to cancel YouTube Premium. Yeah, that's why I was trying to use a keyword search. So I've been seeing these posts all week long. I'm sure the Twitter algorithm's a part of that. I showed interest in reading these things. I've shown interest in reading these things, so now the system's just showing me more of it. Let's see here. Now, I don't want to scroll through all of this, because we have everything else that everybody complains about with all this other stuff. Appeals, because they got their channel terminated, etc. But I kept seeing post after post after post this week of people whose videos were getting locked to private, and it turned out to be some kind of known issue that is supposed to be fixed. But I'd like to see it be more common of a system, specifically because of everything we've talked about here. YouTube has the ability to advance technologically with this system and ward off competition and create an environment where, and this is the most important part of all of this, content creators don't have to walk on eggshells as much. That's probably one of the biggest intimidators to people expressing themselves and being more creative on YouTube, is they have to worry about, well, what if I forget something or some technicality causes my video to get taken down? If there are alternatives to always taking videos down and giving strikes, that would be awesome. So yeah, it was a bug this week. I think it should be a feature. And I think locked to private, we know it already, something like that already exists on Facebook. If YouTube catches up in this area, we're talking about an environment where YouTube progresses technologically and content creators can actually breathe a sigh of relief with this kind of stuff. It's just, like I said in my tweet regarding this, sounds like an interesting system, but I'll actually like it when it starts working. Isn't this how it goes? YouTube rolls out a system and it launches to all kinds of screwball technical issues and stuff along those lines. But yeah, this absolutely is something that YouTube should pursue. I think it's a step forward for YouTube, and it shouldn't just be a bug and something you see in a couple of posts here and there over on Twitter as things keep bugging out every so often. This should be a more common feature, and YouTube should make it more of what things are. And quite frankly, these pull-down systems and whatnot, if you have a video that violated some policy and it's already been rendered invisible to everybody but the person that made it, what difference does it make whether it's pulled versus being removed and the owner given a strike? What difference does it make? Especially when attempts to circumvent what happened can be interpreted as malicious intent, and then it can give more credibility to the strike system. This is something, I wonder if YouTube even knows how much of a step forward this system can be. Hopefully they figure it out. So, tech video to finish. Hopefully it doesn't get too hot. I'm going to take a break for a bit, maybe come back later on in the late night when I've rested up a bit and gone over this a little. And then I'm going to have some quick music for the intro to that stream, and we'll get into our dramatic reading of the backstory behind the E-Machine. Get that intermission out of the way, and then we can finally make the concluding video to all of that. I do have ideas for tech videos, weather permitting, and I might even just do them with the air conditioner on if need be. But I do have some ideas for tech videos, but they're going to be more across the board with things like audiovisual equipment, ring lights, stuff that's been sitting in the box too long. And I certainly have plenty of those going around. I actually have more progress to make through tech videos than through live streaming, but there's plenty of things to talk about, and I need to do that game stream where I see if I can make World of Warcraft look good at 12 grand. Otherwise, call the ISP and drop back down to 110 service, because I don't need to be spending the extra money on services that are mostly useful for live streaming that I'm not gaining the benefit of. All right, let's figure out what to do next year. Till next time, this is MultimediaJay signing off. Thanks for stopping by.